Hey everyone, Christina Simmons from Say Yes to Holiness here. I wanted to talk just very briefly, especially in the midst of our political season that's really ramping up. We had the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Conventions going on. And a lot of times people will come up to me and say, how am I supposed to vote? I'm just supposed to vote according to my conscience, right? Yes and no. So I just want to give you a couple of things to think about in regards to, especially in forming your conscience. Yes, we are to vote our conscience, but the fact is that too often our conscience is not properly formed. What do I mean by that? Well, Christopher West, who is known by most people because of his teachings, in regards to theology of the body, once said, "If my perspective on on something is here, and the church's is here, what do I need to do?" And then he did a great visual of where he actually brought his hands together and he kneeled down and he said, "Pray." And that's actually where we have to start. We have to start by listening to Jesus. I've been talking off and on about those 4 keys to your faith life and also to life itself. And the first is to listen. And who do we listen to? We need to be listening to Jesus first. We don't need to be listening to platforms. We don't be needing to listen to what everybody is saying around us. We need to first listen to Jesus. And when I say listen, I don't mean just do a check-in and go, hey, this is what I'm doing, or this is what I think, and okay, good, give me a thumbs up. No, really deep prayer. And we listen primarily by immersing ourselves in His Word and what it is that He has taught us already about how it is that we're to live this life. Now, many times that can be confusing. It can be like, well, is Jesus saying render unto Caesar, so I shouldn't have anything to do with politics? No, this is where we need to learn. And the best place that we can learn is within the wisdom of the tradition of the church. There's more than 2,000 years of the best minds who have wrestled with these issues. We tend to think from a modern perspective that no one's ever had to deal with things like we have. Well, the problems themselves might be different, but the situation which has brought about those is eternal. The human condition is always that we're struggling, we're wrestling, we're having to deal with our tendency to do the things that are more selfish and not geared towards loving one another. And the wisdom of the church gives us the ability to be able to more deeply get a deeper perspective, God's perspective of how it is that we are to engage in this world. Because this world is not our eternal home. Our eternal home is elsewhere. Does that mean that we just wash our hands and go, not my problem? No. We have a responsibility in our time and place to do what we can, but we have to do it as Christ would like us to do it, as God sets it out for us. And there's no place better than the wisdom of the church and all of the saints and all of the magisterium of all of what has come before to be able to guide us into how we need to respond. So that's one of the things we need to do. And it's by listening to Jesus and being formed by the teachings of the church. One of the best places to, the compendium of all, teaching of the church, was given to us in 1993. It's the Catechism. And it gives us so much guidance for how it is that we need to be engaging in our lives and what it is that we need to be about. So we need to listen to Jesus. We need to learn from His church. And then we have to strive to love like Jesus did. We have to love. And this is what growing in virtue each day helps us do. It helps us get a little bit better at loving like Jesus does. To be able to have that eternal perspective that God does, that all things will pass away, but we still need to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves, those 2 great commandments. Finally, we need to live. So as we're striving to grow in virtue, as we're striving to love like Jesus did, we need to live with detachment, obedience, and trust. This is what it means to abandon ourselves to God's will and to hit His will in our lives on the dot. So detachment, obedience, and trust. We need to become detached from whatever the result is. We need to do our part. We need to do it as passionately and as well as we can. But the results, we need to be detached from them. And we need to trust that God is going to work in those. That is where we have to be obedient. We have to be obedient to what it is that He has told us. He's shared with us in His Word. He shares with us within His church, within the teachings and the magisterium of the church. And we need to be obedient to it as we're striving to become like Him and to love like Him. This is what it is that we need to be about, to form our conscience properly. It's not just about my conscience and whatever it is I think. It's about what is it that God thinks? What is it that Jesus tells me I need to be about? And how is it that all the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, which is contained within the teachings of the church and sacred tradition, what are all of those guiding me towards? That is how we form our conscience. And over time, He will grant us His wisdom of the Holy Spirit. In time, He will give us the ability to love like He does and to live as the Christians that we profess ourselves to be. So I hope that this has helped you a bit. You know, in the question of, I disagree with church teaching, what do I do? And also, how do I enter into this political season? We do it by listening to Jesus, by learning from His church, by loving like He does, and then living with abandonment and trust, with detachment, obedience, and trust. I hope that this has helped you today. I also invite you to step into the masterclass. I do a Say Yes to Holiness masterclass every couple of months or so. I have another one that's beginning on Monday, August 31st. It's 5 days straight of information that's going to help you be able to take your faith and integrate it more fully into your daily life. And I'll give you those tools so that you can make some changes right now in your life so that you truly can be becoming more like Jesus and growing closer to God. So go ahead and check out that masterclass. I'll put a link to the private Facebook group that you need to join in order to be a part of that masterclass. There also, you can go to @SayYesToHoliness on Facebook, and there'll be places where you can link up over the next several days. But then also, you can get on the email list, and the masterclass and the links to watch the masterclass and those videos that will be available if you text Say Yes to Holiness to 66866. So Say Yes to Holiness, 66866. I hope that you decide to join me, because it's within the Say Yes community that we are doing these things that I'm talking about. We're striving to listen to Jesus through our daily prayer and meditation. We are learning from the wisdom of the church. We are striving to grow in virtue and to love like Jesus does. And we are learning to get a bit better about abandoning ourselves to God's will and trusting that even if we're here and He's here, through our prayer and through our obedience and trust, we'll be able to come together. Thanks for your time, and God bless. And know in my prayers that you continue to be able to do whatever it takes so you can tell the Master of Death, not today.